Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today's episode, I'm talking to you about how to pick the bank that's right for you. That's right, on the channel we're known for opening multiple bank accounts, up to 50 a year, but even still, I have some home base accounts that I keep. So how did I land on these banks? Why do I use them? And how can you pick your home base account that you don't churn? And why would you want to? So of course, if you find that interesting, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, if you are new here, when I say I open about 50 or so accounts a year, that is true. It's primarily on Run on the Bank, the second channel, and Profitable.content.com, which is the blog. And now what we do over there is we talk about bank promotions, so churning bank accounts, much like you would churn credit cards for the promotional offers. My goal is to get about $10,000 a year from banks, and that takes a lot of accounts. So over the time, I've seen a lot of different user interfaces, different banks, and so I've landed on some that I've kept and I do not churn. So why would I not do that? Well, why would I not churn them? Well, it's usually because I get something from them in the terms of like a Bank of America or US Bank being preferred rewards or being Smartly. I get increased credit card rewards on both of those. So I would not churn those. On the other hand, it could be something like having a seasoned account really helps, because as we'll go through this, banks are very sensitive in the beginning to brand new accounts. That's when they're most susceptible to fraud. But if you get something like an account that's been open for quite some time, you get, I would say, a little more leeway in bank sensitivity. And I'll give some examples as we go, so it does help. And then, I use cases as well. Like I move quite a bit of money, not so much like dollar amount, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but a lot of transfers back and forth. And some banks are very sensitive to that because a lot of these bank accounts require you to send money to many different banks. So that's just some of the things I look for, and we're going to go through these as we go. But that's why you'd want a home base account, accounts that you don't churn, on top of the fact that we all have bills due, and most of them come from, ACH and bank payments and stuff like that. You wouldn't really want to have to always guess where your mortgage payment's coming from, where your car payment's coming from, that whole thing, especially as you start to do more stuff. Like I've got 3 mortgage payments, 2 rentals in my own house. I don't really want to play a guessing game of where all that's coming. It's like $4,000 on the first of the month that comes out for all of them. So anyhow, these are some criteria in no particular order, or things to think about. Is sensitivity and like what you want to use the account for. By sensitivity, I mean, for example, all banks are sensitive in the beginning. I'll tell a story. Like I went to a Fifth Third branch to open an account, and long story short, I was talking to the branch manager. She's like, hey, do not use mobile deposit for the first 30 to 45 days because we're going to put a hold on it automatically. There's nothing I can do about it because they're very concerned about a new account and check fraud. Now, as you account ages, like with Chase, there are some where I do a mobile deposit and it'll say, it'll give you the standard, we could have this on hold for up to 7 days, whatever it is. And then usually like 5 minutes later, I'll get a thing that says it was approved, right? Because I don't know this for sure, but I do believe that's because I've had that account since I was in college. So there's kind of the benefit there. But more so the fact that it's like Chase, again, is a very popular bank, the most popular in the country. They're the biggest in the States, but they're known for being hypersensitive to things. So if you were going to say, hey, I work gig jobs, I get paid through Venmos and Zells a lot, well, I wouldn't do that. Do it with them because they've been known in the past to be very sensitive about that stuff. And there's no written rule about this anywhere. I can't say 3 Zells a month is too much, or 5 Venmo payments a month is too much. Like, I don't know, but if you go back through the data points, usually you'll see someone on Reddit and like, hey, my account got closed, and it'll be like, well, it was a newer account, and you started doing a bunch of Zells, you did a bunch of Venmo payments. They just get nervous, and they shut it down because they're the biggest bank. They don't have to deal with it. Other banks do this too. I am just cherry picking for examples. If you want to do crypto or something like that, then you're going to have to take some time and find a bank that is been reported in our community as being okay with things like this, or at least take it very slowly in the beginning till you get your foothold there and you get established, so to speak. Other one I take into account is location. Now, again, I know we're in 2025 when we're taping this, but for me, I do like the fact that Chase branches are everywhere. So I use them. That's why part of the reason, one, is my oldest account, but number 2, I do pull out cash on occasion to when someone comes to one of the houses we talked about to fix something. A lot of times handy guys, it's just easier to do cash. You can get a better price that way. You're not talking about big chain places. Get a haircut, I pay the guy in cash because that's what he wants. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes I do need cashier's checks. If I ever do need an ATM to get said cash again, I can find Chase because they're everywhere where I'm at, so that's convenient. You might not care as much about that. Some people don't care at all. I bank at Ally as well. I have no problem if they don't have any branches, but it's also because I have a Chase. Now, on the other hand, most of these places do have ATM networks where you can deposit cash and withdraw cash free of charge. So that's also fine. It just really depends on what you want to do, but I do throw that in there as a criteria. Now, products is another interesting one. Obviously, this channel we're talking about credit cards predominantly, and a lot of folks just want to bank at one bank, which you probably shouldn't do, and we'll talk about. But it doesn't have to include products, credit card products. For example, Bank of America, while I'm staying there for their preferred rewards program, and if all my money is in Roth IRA to get me to Platinum Honor status, Bank of America does not have a high yield savings product, even though they encourage having more money with them to get the better rewards. That might be a problem for you. That's a problem for me. That's why I have Ally, and even US Bank is a higher yield savings account. There are higher ones out there than these guys. They're usually not the most competitive out there, but you get my point. If you're looking for a high yield product, if you're looking to do, hey, I want to do my mortgage somewhere, as well, same place at bank, not every place offers mortgages, for example. So again, I don't mind having multiple places I go, and shopping around will usually do better, but there's a specific product. Again, I'm just using high yield for an example. You'll want to double check. Now, credit cards also kind of bleeds over into pricing. Product and pricing is kind of the same thing, but underneath pricing, I would put do they offer a free checking account? Many big places will have a free account if you do certain activities. If you continue to use the account, have a high enough balance, give us enough in direct deposit a month, then we'll waive the fee. That can be annoying to a lot of people, rightfully so, because there are so many free options out there. Pricing also, I would say competitive pricing on their products, back to the high yield. It's not so much pricing, but if you look at the APYs, what their financing charge they're paying you basically for having their money. Well, even Ally and US Bank aren't going to be the highest. There are some credit unions with higher pricing product. There are some fintechs out there. Redneck Bank for the longest time was the one that had like 5% or something. It's funny because the name is funny, but it was an actual bank, for example, that was paying much higher interest rates. Something like Raisin will help you partner with or find banks paying higher, right? So that's kind of what I mean by pricing. Pricing is very much like a shop around thing depending on what you're trying to do. Now the other one, this is a really big one, user interface as well. Again, I've tried a lot of different banks. I can say very few stand out to me. The vast majority of them are fine, and some are just atrocious. So in no particular order, I do find Chase mobile app and their desktop version very helpful. I do like to do stuff, serious banking, moving money, linking accounts on desktop. They're good. I do like I like American Express's credit card app. Their business banking app, not so good. Citi, I do like Citi's app and their user interface, very good. It thinks I said Siri. I did not say Siri. Everyone else is usually, Bank of America's app is good. Their desktop thing is atrocious. US Bank is getting better. But most of them are serviceable. Fifth Third was serviceable, no complaints. A lot of places use off-the-shelf or slightly customized, working with a provider like a Meridian Link. They provide a lot of banking interfaces. A lot of times you click into the URL, you can even see like Meridian Link in there. There are others, but Meridian it comes to mind. But PNC is god-awful. Like, they were the worst, are the worst I've ever come across. It was just terrible as well. And then when its user interface also blends into product and pricing as well. So a lot of these blend in together, is that some places do outsource their products. So credit cards, for example, can be outsourced to like Elan Financial, which may or may not have easy tie-ins to the bank. It's definitely possible to tie into an provider's online banking portal. But in the case of Citizens, for example, when I was using their business card to get a bonus, that's totally separate of Citizens, and it's run by it's different customer service, different thing altogether, and it was terrible. Again, I would endure it for a bonus, but I would not want that to be my normal experience paying my credit card every day. every month, even if I wasn't just a churner, right? So you have to look at that too, as like, do they own their products? What's the user interface of their products that they don't necessarily own, but they outsource as well? User interface also going to be a personal thing. Depends on what you want to do. I'm sure other people offer this, but I do like that Chase's ATMs have I can add my debit card to my mobile wallet, so I never have to carry my debit card because I don't need it too often, so I don't want to take up a wallet slot. But if I need it, I can just do it, and I'm good to go. I'd also add in ATMs there. We're getting to the point where a lot of the ATMs, you can choose the denomination of bill you want, which is very helpful. Not every place has that. Again, just stuff to think about if that's important to you. I did want to touch on fintechs because you would think fintechs would account for a lot of this stuff, but that's not really the case. User interface is very hit or miss. On one hand, they're pretty good at user interface because they're the financial or they're the technology aspect, and they're backed by an actual bank to hold the banking charter and everything. But a lot of times they feel too salesy. And I do spend a lot of times in these fintech apps because that's where a lot of the referral programs are at. And a lot of times they're always trying to sell you. I mean, all of them are trying to sell you something, but these guys are like right in your face with it. Even SoFi, who's like a real bank now, they just, as soon as you log in, here's a pop-up to buy something. It's pretty annoying. A lot of fintechs, not a lot, but some of them don't have core banking features. GoToBank, for example, I was trying to push out money from GoToBank to my real bank, and they're like, you cannot initiate an ACH from GoTo. You have to pull the money out. Well, again, if we're talking about this, it's entirely possible you just have one bank. You shouldn't, but if you only had one bank, well, like, I got it, how am I going to get the money out of there? That's annoying. Fintechs, they're iffy sometimes, right? Because they can lose funding, they can go under, they can start cutting features. I've gotten emails in the past where they're removing this feature, that feature. You're like, that's a core feature of banking. How are you getting rid of it? So personally, again, I would not choose, if you want to have a fintech in the mix, so be it. I only have them for referrals, really. I don't think I've come across a fintech that I would do legitimate banking with. Could just be me. I am older, but keep that in mind. The last one here is credit unions. Again, credit unions are, they're known for being nice and customer focused. If you want a free account, you can definitely find one there. But then you run into things like, well, when do you need customer service? What type of competitive products are you looking for? They can be competitive in some products for sure, but a lot of times they're not the most competitive. Or the customer service is always like, well, I'd call complaining about a bank promotion not getting paid out, and they're like, well, the promotions department is at lunch, so they'll have to call you back. Chase will answer the phone at 2 a.m. like it doesn't matter. It might be someone offshore, but someone will answer the phone. Does that matter to you? Does going to the branch, being recognized, and them knowing you, get it? So look, those are some of my main criteria. Honestly, we could keep going probably for another 45 minutes on examples and things. The point of this was just to give you some things to think about as you look for getting a bank account, or picking as you go through your churning adventures, coming across an account, you're like, hey, I like this one, I might stay here. It does feel like you're giving up a churn for a yearly churn, but it makes a lot of sense having a home-based account. I'll say one more story than the point about having more accounts. I did the Wells Fargo one. I was looking at it. I'm like, I like Wells Fargo cards. Do I want to stay at Wells Fargo? And I had to send 25 grand over there for the business account offer. And then I tried to transfer out money from the personal account that I'm also doing that offer. And they're like, hey, you hit the limit on transfers. On dollar amount. I was like, well, that's not going to work because I move a lot of money, like we said earlier. And like Ally doesn't care how much money I move. There's a daily limit, but the Ally's daily limit is like 250 grand. Like I don't have 250 grand in my name, but you can see my point. Well, I'm like, well, that's not really going to work, but I can try to get a credit card, then move on. But it might work fine for you, so that's just a recent example. And then the thing about these promotional offers is they're really designed to get you to come and try the product anyways. And you have to do a lot of them before you start getting into the problem of like checks and getting approved like me. So I would take advantage. There's someplace you want to try. I would look at it, look for a promotional offer. Again, profitfulcontent.com, get that offer and then go try it and see how you like it. Because again, as we said last point, you are going to have multiple banks. And we've done a video on this in the past called, I think, how to prevent banking fallout. The gist of it is if you only have one bank, well, then you're setting up a single point of failure. And as we said, Some banks, all banks have varying levels of sensitivity, but the problem is they're not customer focused. When they get sensitive, they just lock you out of your stuff and your money's frozen and you go through their terrible process with no real insights onto when you're going to get your money back. So if everything was in one bank, you're pretty stuck. And again, what you and I would think is normal daily activities can get you locked out of your bank and, in their account closure process, or having to verify your ID or something silly. There are reasons, but they make it ridiculously hard to protect themselves. So at least if you have two banks that are set up minimum, then if one goes down, you have another one. They don't talk to each other like, hey, this person's on the naughty list, protect yourself. They don't talk to each other like that. So I would at minimum have two. But again, as we've said, I use Chase for my personal kind of operating account, Ally for high yield savings, US Bank and Bank of America for the rewards, American Express for the business side of things. I get my mortgages from Rocket Mortgage, on and on and on. So I would still shop around. I know some people don't want that many accounts, but still have more than one. So anyhow, that is how I picked my banks. They work for me. And then when they stop working, then I move on to another one. But as we said, there's never a shortage of offers. So let me know down below, who do you like banking with? You can always find someone who hates some bank or another. So it's good to hear your stories one way or the other. I'd love to get your thoughts, and as well as what are your criteria on picking your banking home, at least for the time being. Anyways, guys, if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. So we're posting content just like this every single week, and of course every single Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And as we said, every single day over on ProfitableContent.com. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.